The crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across marble floors as Catelyn smoothed the emerald silk dress her mother had chosen. 24 years old, and she still let Patricia pick her clothes for these events. The Grand Hotel Castellana hummed with Madrid's elite. Champagne flowed. Orchestra music drifted through perfumed air. Her parents stood across the ballroom, the picture of a perfect marriage. 25 years together. She'd grown up believing in that kind of love. Linda moved toward the refreshment table, declining a waiter's offer of wine. Something felt wrong tonight. Her instincts screamed at her to stay alert, though she couldn't explain why. Near the private lounge entrance, she heard voices. Two women stood behind an ornate column, their expensive perfume mixing with white roses. Patricia finally did it. The first woman's voice dripped false sympathy. Filed for divorce last Tuesday. My lawyer friend confirmed it. Linda's feet froze. About time, the second woman replied. That marriage has been dead for years. I heard she already has an apartment in Paris. Leaving next Thursday. 25 years of pretending. Can you imagine? And poor Robert, completely blindsided. The champagne glass slipped from Linda's fingers. It shattered against marble, the sound echoing through the ballroom. Heads turned. Eyes found her. Her chest tightened. Breathing became impossible. Business trips. Her father's hollow smiles. Separate bedrooms. How had she missed it? Linda turned sharply, tears blurring her vision. She walked fast, then faster, heels clicking frantically. The perfect facade was crumbling, and she needed to fall apart somewhere private. She rounded the corner toward the restrooms at a near run and collided full force with solid muscle and expensive cologne. Strong hands caught her shoulders. Hey, a deep voice said. Are you all right? Linda looked up through her tears at the man she'd just crashed into. 6 feet tall. Dark hair. Eyes like aged whiskey. A jaw that could cut glass. His tailored black suit probably cost more than her car. But his expression stopped her heart. No annoyance. Only concern. I'm sorry, she choked out. I didn't see you. I just need to. Come with me, he said decisively. He took her elbow and guided her through a door marked staff only, up a flight of stairs. Linda should have questioned it. Should have pulled away from this stranger. But something about his calm authority made her follow. They emerged onto a private balcony overlooking Madrid's glittering lights. I know this is private property, he said with amusement. But I happen to know the owner. We won't be disturbed. Linda leaned against the stone railing, gulping cool night air. Below them, Madrid sprawled out, completely indifferent to her pain. Want to talk about it? He asked softly. Linda laughed, a harsh sound bordering on hysteria. I just found out my entire life is a lie. My parents are getting divorced, and I'm apparently the last person to know. My mother is moving to another country in 5 days, and I had to learn all of this from strangers gossiping at a party. She turned to face him, really looking at him. Magazine cover handsome, but his eyes held genuine kindness. I don't even know your name, she said. And here I am falling apart in front of you. He smiled, a slow curve that made something flutter in her chest despite everything. Christopher Stone, he said, offering a handkerchief. And you are Linda Catelyn. She dabbed at her eyes. You said you know the owner of this hotel. I am the owner. Stone Hotels. We own about 30 properties across Europe and Latin America. Linda blinked. She just crashed into one of the wealthiest men in Spain. Destroyed his suit with her tears and makeup. And he was treating her like she was precious instead of a disaster. I should go, she said, though she made no move to leave. You must have important people to schmooze with downstairs. Nobody more important than someone who needs a friendly ear, Christopher said, leaning beside her. Close enough that she felt warmth radiating from his body. For what it's worth, finding out that way must have been horrible. You deserved better. His words made her eyes well up again. 25 years, she whispered. They've been married 25 years. How do you just walk away from that? Christopher was quiet for a moment, his gaze distant. My parents were married for 30 years when my mother died. I was 15. And I remember my father telling me at her funeral that even 30 years wasn't enough. That he would have given anything for 30 more. Linda heard old pain in his voice. I'm sorry. The point is, Christopher continued, some people get that kind of love and some don't. And sometimes people who thought they had it realize they were wrong. It doesn't make your parents bad people, Linda. It just makes them human. How are you so wise? Linda asked, managing a small smile. I'm 32, he said with a grin. I've had time to accumulate some decent advice, though I'll admit most of it comes from making spectacular mistakes. They stood together in comfortable silence, looking out at the city. Linda felt her breathing slowly return to normal. The panic easing. She didn't know this man, but somehow his presence made everything feel less catastrophic. Thank you, she said finally. For not letting me have a complete breakdown in front of everyone. We all have breaking points, Christopher said. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression darkened. I have to take this. But Linda, stay here as long as you need. This balcony is yours tonight. He answered the phone, his voice dropping to a cold, businesslike tone that made her shiver. I told you not to call me here, he said into the phone, walking toward the door. No. Absolutely not. That deal is dead, and you know why. Linda watched him disappear through the doorway, his words echoing strangely. She turned back to the railing, wiping the last tears from her face. Below, a black car pulled up to the hotel's side entrance. A woman in a red coat stepped out, looking up at the balcony where Linda stood. Even from this distance, Linda could see the woman's face clearly under the streetlight. It was her mother. And she was holding hands with a man who was definitely not Linda's father. Linda's hands gripped the balcony railing so hard her knuckles turned white. Below, Patricia Catelyn laughed at something the stranger said, her face radiant in a way Linda hadn't seen in years. The man was younger than her father. Handsome in a casual way that contrasted sharply with Robert Catelyn's polished businessman appearance. He pulled Patricia close, kissing her temple with the ease of long-time intimacy. This wasn't new. This was practiced. How long? Linda whispered to the empty air. The balcony door opened behind her. Christopher's footsteps approached, then stopped. Linda? She didn't turn around. That's my mother down there. With someone who isn't my father. Christopher moved beside her, following her gaze. His jaw tightened. The man in the gray jacket, he asked, his voice strangely flat. You know him? That's Marcus Devereux, Christopher said after a long pause. French investment banker. He stays at my hotels whenever he's in Madrid. How often is that? Every month for the past 2 years. 2 years. Her mother had been living a double life for 2 years, and Linda had been too blind to see it. I should confront her, Linda said, but her voice shook. I should march down there and ask her how she could do this to Dad. To me. Christopher's hand covered hers on the railing. Or you could wait until you're not feeling like your world just ended. Give yourself time to process. I don't want time. I want answers. Then let me help you get them, Christopher said. The right way. Linda finally looked at him. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. Because someone helped me once when I needed it, he said. And because I see something in you that I recognize. That look in your eyes like you're standing on the edge of something and you're not sure if you should jump or walk away. Which did you do? I jumped, Christopher said. And I've regretted it every day since. Before Linda could ask what he meant, his phone rang again. He cursed under his breath, looking at the screen. I really need to take this. But Linda, meet me here tomorrow night. 9 o'clock. I'll help you figure out what to do about your mother. I promise. He squeezed her hand once, then disappeared through the door, his voice already clipped and businesslike on the phone. Linda stood alone on the balcony, watching her mother and Marcus Devereux walk into the hotel below. She should go home. Should sleep. Should pretend this night never happened. Instead, she followed them. The side entrance led to a private hallway she'd never seen before. Plush carpet muffled her footsteps. Expensive art lined the walls. She heard her mother's laugh echoing from around a corner. Linda pressed herself against the wall, peering around the edge. Patricia and Marcus stood outside a hotel room door. Suite 412. Marcus held a keycard. Robert will be occupied with his business friends for hours, Patricia said. We have time. Your daughter looked upset earlier, Marcus replied. Are you sure she didn't see us? Linda sees what she wants to see, Patricia said dismissively. She's always been naive that way. Makes everything easier. The words hit Linda like a slap. After Thursday, it won't matter anymore, Patricia continued. Paris will be a fresh start for both of us. No more pretending. No more sneaking around. And Robert? Let him keep the house and his precious business reputation, Patricia said. I'm taking the trust fund my father left me. That's all I need. Marcus swiped the keycard. The door clicked open. What about Linda? He asked. Patricia paused in the doorway. She'll survive. She's young. She'll get over it and find some nice boy to marry and give me grandchildren I can post about on social media. That's what girls like her do. They disappeared into the room, the door shutting with a soft thud that felt like the final nail in a coffin. Linda stood frozen in the hallway, her mother's words echoing in her head. Naive. Easy. She'll survive. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Are you still at the hotel? I need to see you. It's important. Christopher. Linda's hands shook as she typed back. Suite 412 hallway. Where are you? On my way. Don't move. She waited, her heart pounding. Footsteps approached from the opposite direction. Christopher appeared, still in his suit but his tie loosened, his expression dark. Thank God, he said, reaching her. Linda, we need to talk. There's something you need to know about your mother and Marcus Devereux. I already know they're having an affair, Linda said bitterly. I just heard the whole sordid plan. Christopher's face went pale. That's not what I mean. Linda, Marcus Devereux isn't just an investment banker. He's been under investigation for fraud and money laundering. And 3 days ago, someone transferred 15 million euros from your father's company accounts to an offshore account Marcus controls. Linda felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. My father would never. Your father didn't make the transfer, Christopher said quietly. But someone with access to his accounts did. Someone who knew all his passwords. Someone he trusted completely. The implication hung in the air between them like poison. My mother, Linda whispered. She's not just leaving him. She's destroying him. Christopher nodded grimly. And if your father doesn't recover that money in the next 72 hours, his company will collapse. He'll lose everything. His reputation. His livelihood. Possibly his freedom if the authorities think he was complicit. How do you know all this? Christopher's jaw clenched. Because Marcus Devereux tried to launder money through my hotels 6 months ago. When I refused and reported him, he threatened to ruin me. Said he had powerful friends who could make my life hell. He paused, meeting her eyes. Your mother is one of those friends, Linda. And I think they're planning something much bigger than just stealing from your father. The hotel hallway suddenly felt too small, too close. Linda's entire world was imploding, and the only person offering to help her was a man she'd met an hour ago. A man who, she was beginning to realize, had his own secrets. Why are you really helping me? Linda asked, her voice steady despite the chaos in her head. What do you want? Christopher looked at her for a long moment, something unreadable in his eyes. I want justice, he said finally. And I think you might be the only person who can help me get it. Behind them, Suite 412's door opened. Patricia Catelyn stepped into the hallway, her lipstick smudged, her dress slightly askew. She froze when she saw Linda. For 3 heartbeats, mother and daughter stared at each other across the plush carpet. Then Patricia smiled, cold and calculated. Hello, darling, she said. I think it's time we had a talk. Patricia Catelyn's smile didn't reach her eyes. Behind her, Marcus Devereux appeared in the doorway, buttoning his shirt cuff with practiced ease. Mrs. Catelyn, Christopher said coolly. What a surprise. Mr. Stone, Patricia replied, her voice smooth as silk. I might say the same about finding you in a private hallway with my daughter. Linda found her voice. How long, mother? How long what, darling? Don't play games with me, Linda said, her hands curling into fists. How long have you been planning to destroy Dad? Patricia's smile faltered for just a moment. Then she laughed, a brittle sound that echoed off the walls. Destroy him? Is that what you think this is about? She stepped closer, her perfume cloying in the narrow space. Your father destroyed himself, Linda. I'm simply taking what I'm owed after 25 years of playing the perfect wife to a man who cared more about his business than his family. So you steal 15 million euros? Linda's voice rose. You commit fraud and run away to Paris with your lover? Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps we should discuss this somewhere more private. Shut up, Patricia snapped at him. To Linda, she said, how do you know about the money? I told her, Christopher said. Along with the fact that Marcus is under investigation for money laundering. And that you're both about to bring down not just Robert's company but potentially dozens of innocent people who work for him. Patricia's expression hardened. You should stay out of things that don't concern you, Mr. Stone. It became my concern when Marcus tried to use my hotels for his schemes, Christopher replied. It became Linda's concern when you decided to blow up her entire life without the courtesy of telling her the truth. The truth? Patricia laughed again. You want the truth, Linda? Your father has a mistress. Has had one for 3 years. A 26-year-old secretary who he's bought an apartment for in Barcelona. He was planning to divorce me and leave me with nothing. So yes, I took the money first. I protected myself. That's what smart women do. Linda felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. Dad would never. Your father is not the man you think he is, Patricia said coldly. None of us are. She glanced at Christopher, something calculating in her eyes. Tell her, Mr. Stone. Tell her why you're really here tonight. Tell her about Elena. Christopher's face went white. That's not relevant. Who's Elena? Linda asked, looking between them. His fiancée, Patricia said. Or rather, his dead fiancée. The one who died in a car accident 2 years ago. The same night Christopher was supposed to meet her but chose to stay late at his office instead. Tell me, Mr. Stone, do you still blame yourself? Do you still wake up thinking if you just answered her calls, she'd still be alive? Enough, Christopher said, his voice dangerously low. But Patricia wasn't finished. And now here you are, playing white knight to another broken girl. Is that what this is? Your chance at redemption? Linda felt Christopher tense beside her. The pain in his eyes was raw and real, and suddenly all the pieces clicked into place. His kindness. His understanding. His desperate need to help her. Get away from my daughter, Patricia said to Christopher. Or I'll make sure everyone knows about the security footage from that night. The footage that shows you knew Elena was driving drunk. That shows you could have stopped her. You're bluffing, Christopher said, but his voice shook. Am I? Patricia pulled out her phone, scrolling to a video. Even from where Linda stood, she could see the timestamp. The parking garage. A woman stumbling toward a car. And Christopher, watching from a doorway, his phone in his hand. Not stopping her. You see, Linda, Patricia said, everyone has secrets. Everyone has things they'd rather keep buried. Your father. Me. Your new friend Mr. Stone. The only innocent person here is you, and frankly, that's because you're too naive to see what's right in front of you. Linda's mind raced. Everything was falling apart. Her mother was a criminal. Her father was a cheater. And Christopher, the man who'd saved her tonight, had watched his fiancée drive to her death. Why are you showing me this? Linda whispered. Because I need you to understand, Patricia said, her voice softening just slightly. I'm not the villain in this story, darling. I'm just the only one honest enough to admit we're all playing a game. And in games, there are winners and losers. What do you want? Linda asked. I want you to convince your father not to press charges, Patricia said. Tell him you knew about the money. Tell him you supported my decision. Make him believe that going after me will only hurt you more. And if I don't? Patricia's eyes hardened. Then I release the footage of Mr. Stone. I make sure the world knows he let Elena die. I destroy his reputation, his business, everything he's built. And then I still disappear to Paris with the money, and your father still loses his company. The only difference is how many people get hurt along the way. Linda looked at Christopher. His face was ashen, his hands trembling slightly. She thought about Elena, whoever she was, dying alone on a dark road. She thought about her father, facing ruin. She thought about the 15 million euros and the innocent employees who would lose their jobs. And she thought about the man who'd offered her a handkerchief and a balcony and a moment of peace when her world was ending. I'll do it, Linda said quietly. Christopher's head snapped toward her. Linda, no. I'll talk to Dad, Linda continued, ignoring him. I'll convince him not to press charges. But Mother, you have to promise me something. Patricia raised an eyebrow. What? You return 5 million euros. Enough to save Dad's company and keep people employed. You can keep the rest. Disappear to Paris. Live your life. But you don't destroy Christopher. You delete that footage and never speak of it again. Linda, don't do this, Christopher said urgently. Don't sacrifice yourself for me. I'm not sacrificing myself, Linda said, still looking at her mother. I'm making a deal. Do we have an agreement, Mother? Patricia studied her daughter for a long moment. Then she smiled, genuine this time. You're stronger than I thought, she said. All right. 5 million back. The footage disappears. But Linda, once I leave on Thursday, we're done. I won't be coming back. I won't be calling. This is goodbye. I know, Linda said, her voice breaking slightly. I've known since I heard those women talking at the party. You were already gone. Patricia's composure cracked for just a second. Something like regret flickered across her face. Then it was gone. Marcus, transfer 5 million back to Robert's accounts, she said. Make it look like a bank error. Make it untraceable. Marcus nodded, pulling out his phone. Patricia turned back to Linda. You have until tomorrow night to talk to your father. If he files charges before then, our deal is off. She walked past Linda and Christopher, her heels clicking against the floor. At the end of the hallway, she paused. For what it's worth, darling, she said without turning around, you deserved better parents. Both of you did. Then she was gone, Marcus following behind her like a shadow. Linda and Christopher stood alone in the hallway. The silence felt heavy, oppressive. Why did you do that? Christopher finally asked. Because you saved me tonight, Linda said simply. And because everyone deserves a second chance. Even people who make terrible mistakes. Linda, you don't understand. What Patricia said about Elena, it's true. I knew she was drunk. I saw her get in that car. And I stood there and let her go because we'd been fighting and I was angry and stubborn and stupid. I let the woman I loved die because of my pride. Linda turned to face him fully, seeing the tears in his eyes. Then spend the rest of your life making up for it, she said. Help people. Save people. Be better. But don't let my mother use your guilt to hurt more people. That's not justice. That's just more pain. Christopher pulled her into a sudden, desperate embrace. Linda felt his heart pounding against her chest, felt his breath ragged against her hair. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you. They stood like that for a long moment, two broken people holding each other in a hotel hallway, the weight of secrets and sacrifices pressing down on them both. When they finally pulled apart, Christopher's phone buzzed. He looked at it and frowned. It's my head of security, he said. There's been an incident at one of my properties in Barcelona. I need to fly out tonight. Barcelona? Linda's heart skipped. My father's mistress is in Barcelona. Christopher's eyes widened. Linda, what if this isn't a coincidence? What if Patricia and Marcus are planning something else? What if the money transfer was just the beginning? Before Linda could respond, her own phone rang. Her father's name flashed on the screen. She answered. Linda, where are you? Robert Catelyn's voice was frantic. I've been looking everywhere for you. Something's happened. Something terrible. Dad, what's wrong? It's your mother, he said, his voice breaking. She's been arrested. The police just took her from the hotel. They're saying she's connected to an international money laundering operation. They're saying she's been working with a criminal network for years. Linda looked at Christopher, seeing her shock reflected in his face. But we just saw her, Linda said. She was fine. She was leaving for Paris. Someone tipped off the authorities, her father said. Someone gave them everything. Bank records. Communications. Evidence of multiple crimes. Linda, your mother might be going to prison for a very long time. The phone almost slipped from Linda's hand. Who? She whispered. Who tipped them off? Christopher's phone buzzed again. He looked at the message and his face went pale. Linda, he said slowly, I think we've been played. He turned his phone toward her. The message was from an unknown number, but the words were clear. Thank you for the distraction. The money is being transferred as we speak. By the time you realize what happened, I'll be gone. Give Linda my regards. Marcus. Linda's blood ran cold. Marcus Devereux hadn't been Patricia's partner. He'd been using her. Using them all. And now her mother was in custody, the money was gone, and they'd just helped a criminal escape. Linda stared at the message on Christopher's phone, her mind racing. Around them, the luxury hotel hallway suddenly felt like a trap. How much did he take? Linda asked, her voice eerily calm. Christopher scrolled through rapidly incoming messages from his finance team. His face grew darker with each one. 30 million, he said finally. He drained accounts from both your father's company and my hotels. Used our confrontation as cover to execute the transfers. By the time the banks flag it, he'll be untraceable. Linda's father was still on the phone. Linda? Are you there? Where are you? Dad, I need you to listen very carefully, Linda said, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting inside her. How much money is missing from your accounts? A pause. Then, how did you know about that? How much? 15 million, Robert said. But Linda, the police are saying your mother was involved in something much bigger. They have evidence of fraud going back 5 years. I don't understand any of this. Linda closed her eyes. Where are you right now? At the hotel. The police want to question me. They think I might have been complicit. Don't say anything without a lawyer, Linda said. I'll be right there. She ended the call and looked at Christopher. Marcus set this whole thing up, she said. The affair with my mother. The money transfers. Even the arrest. He made sure we'd all be distracted, fighting each other, while he disappeared with everything. The question is how, Christopher said, his jaw clenched. How did he get the authorities involved so quickly? How did he have evidence ready to go? Because he's been planning this for years, a voice said behind them. They spun around. A woman stood at the end of the hallway. Mid-30s, sharp suit, carrying a leather briefcase. Her expression was cold and professional. Who are you? Christopher demanded. Agent Sofia Marquez, Interpol Financial Crimes Division, she said, showing credentials. And you two have about 5 minutes before the local police arrive to question you as well. We didn't do anything, Linda said. I know, Sophia replied. But Marcus Devereux is very good at making innocent people look guilty. That's his specialty. He finds wealthy families, identifies their weaknesses, and exploits them until they're too busy fighting each other to notice he's robbing them blind. She moved closer, lowering her voice. We've been tracking him for 3 years. 6 families across Europe, all destroyed. Marriages ruined. Companies bankrupt. 2 people dead, made to look like suicides. And we've never been able to catch him because by the time anyone realizes what's happening, he's gone. Then why tell us this? Christopher asked. Because you're different, Sophia said, looking between them. Marcus usually works alone. But this time, he involved your mother, Linda. And that means he made a mistake. Patricia Catelyn knows things. She has information we can use to find him. My mother is in custody, Linda said. She's facing serious charges. Charges we can make disappear if she cooperates, Sophia said. But we need to move fast. Marcus has a 30-minute head start. After that, he'll be in the wind. Linda's mind worked quickly. You said 6 families. Who else did he target? Sophia hesitated, then pulled a tablet from her briefcase. She showed them a list of names. Linda's breath caught. The Delacroix family, she whispered. They're friends of ours. Their daughter Elena was. She looked at Christopher, whose face had gone white. She was my fiancée, he finished quietly. Sophia nodded grimly. Marcus Devereux orchestrated the financial collapse of the Delacroix shipping company 2 years ago. François Delacroix, Elena's father, lost everything. The stress, the shame, it drove Elena to. She wasn't drinking, Christopher said, his voice breaking. She was trying to get to me. To tell me what she'd discovered about Marcus. And I ignored her calls because I was angry about a stupid fight. She died trying to warn me, and I let her. Linda grabbed his hand. The pieces were falling into place, terrible and clear. Marcus killed her, Linda said. Maybe not directly, but he created the circumstances. He destroys people. That's what he does. Which is why we need to stop him, Sophia said. Mr. Stone, you have resources. Connections. A private jet. Linda, your mother knows Marcus's escape plan. She knows his contacts, his safe houses, everything. If you two work with us, we might have a chance. Why should we trust you? Christopher asked. Because right now, I'm the only one offering you a way forward, Sophia said. Otherwise, Linda's mother goes to prison. Your father's company collapses, Linda. And Christopher, the footage of you letting Elena drive away that night? Marcus has copies. He'll release them the moment he feels safe. He'll destroy you both just because he can. Linda's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She opened it, her blood running cold. It was a photo of her father, sitting in the hotel bar, looking broken and lost. The message beneath read, "He deserves better than the family he got. Tell him I'm sorry it had to be this way. Or don't. Either way, goodbye, Linda." He's still here, Linda whispered, showing Christopher and Sophia the phone. Marcus is still in the building. Sophia's eyes sharpened. He's arrogant. Wants to watch the chaos he's created. That's good. That gives us an opening. What do you need us to do? Christopher asked. I need Linda to convince her mother to talk, Sophia said. And I need you, Mr. Stone, to lock down this hotel. No one leaves until we find him. Can you do that? Christopher pulled out his phone. This is my hotel. I can do whatever I want. 10 minutes later, Linda stood outside a hotel security room where her mother was being held. Through the small window, she could see Patricia sitting at a table, her perfect composure finally cracked. Mascara streaked down her face. Her hands were cuffed in front of her. A police officer opened the door. 5 minutes. That's all you get. Linda stepped inside. The door closed behind her. Patricia looked up, and for the first time in Linda's life, she saw real fear in her mother's eyes. I didn't know, Patricia said immediately. Linda, you have to believe me. I thought it was just about the money. About finally being free. I didn't know Marcus was using me. I didn't know about the other families, the other crimes, any of it. But you knew he was dangerous, Linda said quietly. You knew enough to use him against Dad. Against Christopher. You chose to be part of this. I chose to survive, Patricia said, her voice breaking. I chose to take control of my life for once instead of just existing in your father's shadow. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But Linda, I'm still your mother. Are you? Linda pulled out a chair and sat across from her. Because mothers protect their children. They don't call them naive. They don't dismiss their pain. They don't use them as bargaining chips. Patricia flinched. I deserve that. You deserve a lot more than that, Linda said. But right now, what you deserve doesn't matter. What matters is that Marcus Devereux has hurt a lot of people. He killed someone Christopher loved. He's probably killed others. And he's about to disappear forever unless you help us stop him. Why would I help you? Patricia asked. I'm already ruined. Because despite everything, I don't want to visit you in prison for the next 20 years, Linda said, her voice softening. Because maybe, just maybe, there's a chance you can do one good thing. One real thing. You can help us catch a monster. And maybe that doesn't make up for what you've done, but it's a start. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Tears slid down her cheeks. He's meeting someone, she finally said. In 30 minutes. Suite 801. Marcus has a partner, someone who's been helping him move the money. I don't know who it is. He never told me. But that's where he'll be. Thank you, Linda said, standing. Linda, Patricia called as she reached the door. I really am sorry. For all of it. You deserved better. Linda paused, her hand on the doorknob. Yeah, she said without turning around. I did. She left the room and found Christopher and Sophia waiting in the hallway. Suite 801, Linda said. 30 minutes. He has a partner. Sophia was already on her radio, coordinating with her team. Christopher looked at Linda, something fierce and determined in his eyes. Are you ready for this? He asked. Linda thought about her shattered family. About Elena, dying alone. About all the other victims Marcus had destroyed. I'm ready, she said. They moved through the hotel like ghosts, Sophia's team taking positions around the 8th floor. Christopher used his master access to disable the elevator above the 7th floor. Every exit was covered. Every window monitored. At 11:28 p.m., 2 minutes before the scheduled meeting, they took positions outside Suite 801. Sophia counted down with her fingers. 3, 2, 1. The door burst open. The suite was empty. No, Sophia breathed. He knew. Somehow he knew. But Linda was staring at something on the coffee table. A single envelope with her name written on it in elegant script. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a note and a photograph. The photograph showed Christopher and Elena together, smiling, happy. Alive. On the back, Elena had written, "Forever and always." The note read, Linda, you were the most interesting part of this game. So honest. So desperate to believe people can be good. I almost felt bad using you. Almost. The money is gone. Your mother will go to prison. Your father's reputation is destroyed. And Christopher will spend the rest of his life knowing he could have saved Elena if he'd just been brave enough to face the truth. You all lose. I win. That's how the world works. But here's a gift, a truth your mother didn't want you to know. The partner I mentioned? The one helping me move the money? Look at the man standing behind Elena in that photograph. The one she's laughing with at that party 3 days before she died. You might recognize him. Patricia certainly did. That's why she was so eager to help me destroy him. Some betrayals run deeper than marriage, Linda. Some secrets are worth burning everything down to hide. Good luck figuring it out. M. Linda looked at the photograph again, her hands shaking. Behind Elena and Christopher, slightly out of focus but unmistakably clear, stood a man. Robert Catelyn. Linda's father. His hand was on Elena's shoulder. His smile was intimate, knowing. And suddenly, everything Patricia had said about Robert having a mistress took on a horrifying new meaning. Linda's father hadn't just been cheating. He'd been cheating with Christopher's fiancée. Christopher stepped beside her, looking at the photograph. His face went from confused to shocked to absolutely devastated in the space of a heartbeat. No, he whispered. No, no, no. Elena wouldn't. She wouldn't do that to me. But the evidence was there, undeniable and cruel. Christopher, Linda started, but he backed away from her, from the photograph, from the truth that was destroying him all over again. Your father, he said, his voice hollow. Your father was sleeping with Elena. And my fiancée was lying to me. And Marcus knew. He knew everything. He used it to manipulate your mother, to manipulate all of us. Sophia picked up the note, reading it quickly. Her expression was grim. He's gone, she said. This was all a distraction. While we were rushing to Suite 801, he was already leaving the country. We've lost him. Linda felt everything collapsing. Her mother arrested. Her father revealed as an adulterer who destroyed Christopher's life. Marcus Devereux disappearing into the night with millions of stolen dollars. And Christopher, looking at her like she was part of the family that had killed the woman he loved. Christopher, Linda said, reaching for him. He stepped back, his eyes cold. Don't, he said. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me. Your family destroyed everything. Your mother. Your father. You're all poison. That's not fair, Linda said, tears streaming down her face. I didn't know. I would never. It doesn't matter, Christopher said. None of it matters anymore. He walked away, leaving Linda standing in the empty suite with Sophia and a photograph that had just destroyed the only good thing to come from this nightmare. Her phone rang. Her father. She answered, her voice dead. Linda, where are you? Robert asked. The police have more questions. They're asking about Elena Delacroix. Why would they ask about her? I barely knew the girl. Linda looked at the photograph in her hand. Because you're a liar, Dad, she said quietly. And I'm done protecting liars. She ended the call and turned to Sophia. I want to help you catch Marcus Devereux, Linda said. Whatever it takes. I'll testify. I'll give you everything I know. I'll do whatever you need. But I want him to pay for what he's done to all of us. Sophia studied her for a moment, then nodded. Then we start by following the money, she said. And by figuring out who Marcus really is. Because I have a feeling we've only seen the beginning of what he's capable of. As they left the suite, Linda took one last look at the photograph of Christopher and Elena. She'd sacrificed herself to save him. And in return, she'd lost everything anyway. 6 months later, Linda stood on a different balcony in a different city. Geneva. The late afternoon sun painted the lake below in shades of gold and crimson. Behind her, through the glass doors of the luxury apartment, Sofia Marquez worked at a laptop, coordinating with her team across 3 continents. They'd been hunting Marcus Devereux for half a year. Following digital breadcrumbs. Tracking shell companies. Building a case that would hold up in international courts. And finally, after months of dead ends and false leads, they'd found him. He's here, Sophia said, stepping onto the balcony. In Geneva. Using the name Matthias Durant. He's been living in a penthouse on Rue du Rhône, moving money through a new network, already working on his next target. Linda's hands tightened on the railing. When do we move? Tomorrow night. There's a charity gala at the Hotel President Wilson. Marcus will be there, schmoozing with wealthy donors, identifying his next victims. We'll have agents positioned throughout the venue. When he makes contact with his money launderer, we take them both down. I want to be there, Linda said. Linda, we've talked about this. It's too dangerous. I don't care, Linda said, turning to face Sophia. He destroyed my family. He destroyed Christopher. He's destroyed dozens of families. I need to see him caught. I need to see him realize he lost. Sophia sighed. You sound like someone else I know. Linda knew who she meant. Christopher Stone. The man she hadn't spoken to in 6 months. The man who'd walked away from her in a hotel suite, his eyes cold with betrayal and grief. She'd tried to contact him once, 2 months ago. Sent him a letter explaining everything Sophia had discovered. How Marcus had manipulated the situation between Robert and Elena. How her father had been seduced by Elena as part of Marcus's plan, though Robert had been weak enough to let it happen. How none of them were innocent, but some of them were victims. Christopher had never responded. He's in Geneva too, Sophia said quietly. Christopher. He's been tracking Marcus on his own. Using his resources, his connections. He's gotten close several times, but Marcus always slips away. Linda's heart skipped. You've been in contact with him? He won't work with us officially, Sophia said. But he shares information. He wants Marcus caught as much as we do. Maybe more. Does he know I'm here? Sophia nodded. I told him this morning. He didn't respond. Linda looked back out at the lake, fighting tears. After everything they'd been through, after the connection they'd shared for one impossible night, Christopher had become a ghost. A name in Sophia's reports. A shadow hunting the same monster she was hunting. What happened to my parents? Linda asked, though she already knew the answer. She asked every few weeks, as if the story might change. Your mother is serving 8 years in a minimum security facility, Sophia said gently. She's cooperating fully. Her testimony has been crucial. Your father's company survived, barely. He's facing civil suits from investors, but he avoided criminal charges. He tried to contact you last week. I know, Linda said. I deleted the message. Some bridges, once burned, couldn't be rebuilt. The next night, Linda wore a black dress that Sophia had selected. Simple, elegant, designed to blend into the crowd at the Hotel President Wilson. A small earpiece connected her to Sophia's team. A panic button disguised as a bracelet on her wrist. The ballroom was eerily similar to the one where this had all begun. Crystal chandeliers. Wealthy people pretending their lives were perfect. The orchestra playing something classical and forgettable. But Linda was different now. 6 months of hunting a predator had changed her. She moved through the crowd with purpose, her eyes scanning faces, looking for the man who'd destroyed everything. Target acquired, Sophia's voice crackled in her earpiece. Southeast corner, near the champagne fountain. Dark suit, speaking with a woman in red. Linda's heart pounded as she moved closer. And then she saw him. Marcus Devereux looked exactly as she remembered. Handsome. Charming. The kind of man who could convince you the sky was green and make you thank him for the revelation. He was laughing at something the woman in red had said, his hand gentle on her elbow. Already hunting. Already destroying. All teams in position, Sophia said. We move in 3 minutes. Linda, stay back. Do not approach the target. But Linda was already moving. Not toward Marcus, but toward the woman in red. She had to warn her. Had to stop Marcus from claiming another victim. She was 10 feet away when a hand caught her wrist. Linda spun, ready to fight. And found herself looking into eyes the color of aged whiskey. Christopher Stone stood before her, older somehow, harder. His suit was impeccable. His expression unreadable. But his hand on her wrist was gentle, almost reverent. Don't, he said quietly. Sophia has it covered. Let the professionals do their job. I can't just stand here, Linda said, her voice breaking. I can't watch him hurt someone else. Then don't watch, Christopher said. Look at me instead. Linda met his eyes, and 6 months of anger and grief and longing crashed over her like a wave. I'm sorry, Christopher said. I'm sorry for what I said. For blaming you. For walking away when you needed me. You sacrificed everything to protect me, and I threw it back in your face. I was wrong. I was broken. And I'm still broken, Linda, but I'm trying to be better. Christopher. Let me finish, he said. I read your letter. Every word. I must have read it 100 times. And you were right. Marcus manipulated all of us. He used our weaknesses, our secrets, our love against us. My father, Elena, your mother, they all made choices. Bad choices. But the architect of all that pain was Marcus. And I'm going to make sure he pays for it. We're going to make sure, Linda corrected. Together. Christopher's hand moved from her wrist to her hand, fingers intertwining. Together, he agreed. 2 minutes, Sophia's voice said in Linda's ear. Linda, Christopher, get clear of the target zone. But Marcus was moving. He'd seen something, sensed something. His charming smile faltered. His eyes scanned the room, sharp and calculating. And then his gaze landed on Linda and Christopher. For a moment, their eyes met across the ballroom. Recognition flashed in Marcus's face, followed by something Linda couldn't quite identify. Respect, maybe. Or regret. Then he ran. Target is mobile, Sophia's voice crackled. All teams move now. Chaos erupted. Plainclothes agents rushed forward. Guests screamed. Marcus bolted toward the kitchen entrance, shoving people out of his way. Christopher pulled Linda toward a side door. This way. I know this hotel. I know where he's going. They ran through staff corridors, Christopher's knowledge of luxury hotels guiding them. Behind them, footsteps echoed. Sophia's team or Marcus's escape, Linda couldn't tell. They burst onto a service balcony overlooking the loading docks. Below, a black car idled. Marcus was already halfway down the fire escape. He's getting away, Linda said. Christopher was on his phone. Not this time. I've been planning for this. The black car's engine died suddenly. The doors locked with audible clicks. Marcus reached the ground and grabbed the door handle, yanking frantically. Surprise, Christopher said, though Marcus couldn't hear him. I own this hotel too. Every door. Every car. Every exit is mine. Sophia's team poured onto the loading dock from 3 directions. Marcus was surrounded, trapped, his escape routes cut off. He looked up at the balcony where Linda and Christopher stood. Even from this distance, Linda could see his expression. Not fear. Not regret. Admiration. He raised his hands slowly, surrendering. But he was smiling. 20 minutes later, Linda and Christopher stood in the hotel lobby as Sophia's team led Marcus away in handcuffs. The woman in red he'd been targeting sat with a crisis counselor, shaken but safe. Marcus paused as he passed them, flanked by 2 large agents. Impressive, he said to Christopher. You've learned some things. Become harder. More ruthless. I'm almost proud. I'm nothing like you, Christopher said coldly. No, Marcus agreed. You're worse. Because you think you're doing this for justice. For love. But you're doing it for revenge. Same as me. Same as everyone. We're all just animals trying to survive. Maybe, Linda said, stepping forward. But the difference is we know when to stop. We know when enough is enough. You don't. And that's why you lost. Marcus looked at her, really looked at her, and something shifted in his expression. I didn't lose, Linda, he said quietly. I taught you how the world really works. I showed you that everyone you trusted was lying to you. I gave you the truth, even if it hurt. That's more than your parents ever did. You destroyed lives, Linda said. You killed people. You ruined families. I held up a mirror, Marcus replied. If people didn't like what they saw, that's not my fault. Your father was already cheating. Your mother was already planning to leave. I just accelerated the inevitable. Elena Delacroix wasn't inevitable, Christopher said, his voice dangerous. She was 26 years old. She was kind and brilliant and she deserved better than to die alone on a dark road because you decided to destroy her family. For the first time, Marcus's composure cracked. Something like pain flashed across his face. Elena was collateral damage, he said. I never meant for her to die. I never mean for anyone to die. I'm not a monster, Christopher. I'm just a man who understands that love is a weakness and trust is a lie. I learned that lesson when I was younger than Elena. And I've been teaching it ever since. Then rot in prison with your lessons, Christopher said. Sophia nodded to her agents. They led Marcus away, his smile finally fading. Linda watched him disappear through the hotel doors. 6 months of hunting. 6 months of piecing together the wreckage of her life. And it was over. Just like that. Is it wrong that I feel sorry for him? Linda asked quietly. No, Christopher said. It means you're still human. Still capable of empathy even after everything. That's the difference between people like us and people like him. They stood together in silence as the hotel slowly returned to normal. Guests filtered back into the ballroom. The orchestra started playing again. Life went on, indifferent to the drama that had just unfolded. What happens now? Linda asked. Now we testify, Christopher said. Help Sophia's team build the case. Make sure Marcus never hurts anyone again. And then. He paused, turning to face her fully. And then we figure out what comes next. For both of us. Linda looked at this man who'd saved her and blamed her and hunted alongside her. This man who was as broken as she was, but trying to be better. I don't know if I can trust anyone anymore, Linda admitted. After everything that happened. After all the lies. I know, Christopher said. I feel the same way. But Linda, if I've learned anything from this nightmare, it's that the alternative to trusting people is becoming Marcus. Alone. Cynical. Convinced that everyone is just playing games. And you don't want that? I did once, Christopher said honestly. After Elena died. After I found out about your father. I wanted to believe the worst in everyone. It felt safer. But then I remembered something my father told me at my mother's funeral. He said that love isn't about never getting hurt. It's about deciding that the possibility of joy is worth the risk of pain. That's beautiful, Linda said. That's terrifying, Christopher corrected with a small smile. But maybe it's time we stopped being terrified. He held out his hand, palm up. An invitation. A question. Linda looked at his hand, then at his face. This man who'd offered her a handkerchief and a balcony 6 months ago. Who'd made mistakes and paid for them and was still trying to do better. She took his hand. Maybe we start small, Linda said. Coffee. Conversation. 2 broken people trying to figure out how to be whole. I can do small, Christopher said. Though fair warning, I'm terrible at small talk. Good, Linda said. I hate small talk. Let's talk about real things. Hard things. True things. Deal. They walked together toward the hotel exit, hand in hand. Behind them, the charity gala continued. The orchestra played. People danced and laughed and pretended their lives were perfect. But Linda and Christopher were done pretending. They stepped out into the Geneva night, the cool air a relief after the stuffy ballroom. The lake sparkled with reflected lights. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed, taking Marcus Devereux to his reckoning. Do you think we'll ever be okay? Linda asked as they walked along the water's edge. I think okay is a low bar, Christopher said. I think maybe we aim for something better. Happy, even. Eventually. Happy sounds impossible. 6 months ago, catching Marcus seemed impossible, Christopher pointed out. We made that happen. Maybe we can make this happen too. Linda stopped walking, pulling Christopher to a halt beside her. She looked up at him, this complicated, damaged, trying man who'd saved her and hurt her and come back for her anyway. Thank you, she said. For not giving up. On this case. On justice. On us. Thank you for seeing me, Christopher replied. Really seeing me. Not just the money or the hotels or the guilt. But me. The broken parts and the healing parts and all the messy middle. He leaned down, his forehead touching hers. Not a kiss, not yet. Just closeness. Connection. Two people who'd survived a nightmare and decided to face the world together. Tomorrow we testify, Christopher said softly. We help put away a monster. We start rebuilding what he destroyed. But tonight, can we just be Linda and Christopher? Two people on a balcony, looking at city lights, trying to remember what it feels like to hope. I'd like that, Linda said. They stood there together as the Geneva night deepened around them. Above, stars emerged one by one. Below, the lake reflected constellations. And between them, something new was beginning to grow. Something fragile and real and possibly beautiful. It wasn't a happy ending. Not yet. There were still trials to face. Still families to heal. Still scars that would never fully fade. But it was a beginning. And sometimes, that was enough. The end.